I went on vacation and lost weight. How does that happen? Well, you go to Cuba, of course. The beaches are amazing, but the food is questionable at best. Let me take you on a little journey this sesh. It all starts in the bathroom of Toronto Airport before we get on a plane to go to Cuba. Before we head to the gate, and after we deal with the bags, Captain Justin decides that he's got to take a tinkle. So, off to the washroom I prance. Now I'm walking in as the dude's walking out of the last stall. And of course, it's the only available spot to go, so I guess I'm going to do my business in there. Well, that dude, he decimated it, man. Decimated it. It was a tsunami of shit inside and outside the bowl. Do you have any idea how hard it is to take a leak while you're straddling poop landmines? Yeah, that's right. Poop was on the floor, dude. And no, it's not easy to arc your pee from the door of the stall to the bowl and not hit your pants or shoes. So I finish up in the stall and I'm leaving. And as I walk out of the stall, I almost run into this dude in the middle of the room who's repeatedly slamming his hat on the floor and yelling and fighting ghosts. And no, the floor wasn't even kinda clean. Poop landmines, dude. So I squeeze by Captain Fights a Ghost. And I wash my hands real quick because I gotta get the hell out of there before feces start getting chucked across the room. That was the beginning of the trip, dude. That's right, we hadn't even got to the gate yet. So we get to the gate. We're waiting to board the plane, and now it's my girlfriend's turn to get a little visit from the Tinkle Fairy. So off she goes to the bathroom. Boop-a-doop-a-doop. Just after she leaves, these two ditzy college chicks walk past me and ask if this is the line for the plane. There's only one line, dude. And I'm not even kinda in it. I'm kinda off to the side, because, they board you by section, so the line is kinda pointless and a little dumb. Anyway, I say, yeah, it is. As my girlfriend comes back, she's just in time to see Ditzy 1 and Ditzy 2 come walking by again trying to retrieve reusable plastic Starbucks water cups from this oversized shoulder bag they're carrying. Now, as they're walking, they realize that they've spilled all the water in the bag. Now, you'd think they'd beeline it to the bathroom, right, to clean it out before they board the plane. Nope. Not even kinda. No, not these chicks. These chicks pop a squat in the middle of the seating area, empty the contents, and dump the water right there. Why? Why, you ask? Well, because people are dumb, dude. So finally, the call for boarding goes out. Now, guess who gets on the plane first? That's right. This guy right here. As I said, lines are dumb, and it's kind of pointless. So we get on the plane. We find out we're on the emergency row, and that's why we boarded the plane first. This also means leg room, and that's a hot commodity on a plane. So excitement, yeah, add 100. Added bonus, we get to watch all the people board the plane. And since we like to people watch and talk shit, it's like a celebration of joy. You ever seen a selfie queen? Me neither. Until this day. On this day, I got to witness one in the wild, baby. This chick, 2 rows in front of us, took selfies the whole time. Literally, from the time she sat in her seat to the time we got off the plane, click, 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 189 photos, dude, from 2 different angles. Then there's these 2 chicks behind us, and they're talking about their boyfriend's red flags. Apparently, this one dude asked, why? Way too often, and it drove one of the girls nuts. So, of course, I had to eavesdrop on the conversation to find out what their red flags were. You know what they were? Well, I must have heard the phrase, and like, about 900 times, dude. Imagine listening to this for half of a 3-hour flight. And like, I was at work, and like, I was wearing my red dress with like the open back, and like, I got really cold, and Bonnie didn't even like offer me her cardigan when the air conditioner broke and like made it like a meat locker in the office. And like, when I called my boyfriend at lunch, he didn't even like ask why my teeth were chattering. Like, and like, I was very hurt, and like, I was expecting him to like say something, and like, I wanted him to say something, so like, I could feel better, because like, I wanted to be warm, and I couldn't be warm, and like, he didn't care, and like, Bonnie was being a total bitch. And then like my nipples got cold, and then Robert made a comment, and like I just wanted to die, but like I didn't die. The flight to Cuba is 3 hours, 3.5 tops. Imagine half of that this. Now, our flight was not 3 hours. Nope. Our travel time was about 9 hours, because 5 other dopes delayed the flight by half an hour, because apparently planes don't wait for people now. Who knew? The last time I was in an airport missing a plane, I had to sprint across the whole airport just in time to see the plane taxi to the runway, and I was only 5 minutes late, dude. WestJet doesn't play by those rules. They hang out on the tarmac until you show up. You don't have your documents ready? No worries. No problem, dude. We'll help you fill them out at the boarding desk. Because forget that 200 other people have been waiting 45 minutes for your dumbass. Why do we have a rule that people have to be at the airport 3 hours ahead of their international flight if the departure time is just kind of a guideline? So we finally take off about 45 minutes late. No big deal, right? It's only 45 minutes. 45 minutes doesn't make that much of a difference, except for the giant storm over the airport we have to circle on our arrival to Cuba. So now we're circling Cuba for 2 hours, just flying up and down the coast, just cruising up and down the coast in a plane. Baller, right? No, it's not. You know why? Because this is how dumb people are. You can see the giant storm cloud and lightning flashing outside the right side of the plane. Now people start asking the crew at this point why we haven't landed yet. Seriously? Half the plane is taking videos out their window of lightning going off, lighting up the cabin like mortar shells, and you don't know why we're still in the air? This is the same time when you can see the mob mentality starting to build. Just as tension builds to a boil, the cabin crew comes out all smooth. That's right, they soothe us like babies, breaking out chocolate chip cookies and some sweet treats, because just like toddlers, you can't talk when you're chewing. Finally, we're able to land, right? And it's about midnight, and we make our way through customs, then to the baggage carousel, and the bags start coming out on the carousel along with a dude and his drug-sniffing Cocker Spaniel. They're walking over the bags, and of course, the dog stops at my bag and gives it a pretty good huff a couple times, you know? I mean, I get it. My bag was in my basement before I left, so it might have smelled like weed a bit, but also cat litter, and dog. So I take the bag off the carousel, right? Well, doesn't Buddy and his drug-sniffing Cocker Spaniel beeline it right to me? So I push the bag out towards them so the dog can sniff it again. Because what kind of drug mule puts the bag full of drugs in front of the drug-sniffing dog? Right? That's my logic. So the dog sniffs it once and then moves along. No Cuban gel for Justin, baby. After about an hour bus ride, we finally get to the resort. We're exhausted, we're definitely agitated, and we're definitely ready for sleep. So we check in, and the room they give us was gross, dude, with a capital GROSS, okay? The air wasn't on in the room, and it was the most humid, okay? Everything was damp, or at least it felt damp. The worst part was, my fat ass couldn't even handle the humidity. For the first 2 days, I was sweating like a pedo in Gen Pop, dude. That's right. So the next day, we had them change our room, and that's when I figured out, if you tip the right person, you can get pretty much anything you want, dude. Also, dudes will try and get you to give them your shoes, especially if you have some slick-ass Nikes, because they love that shit. It's definitely a little off-putting, though, when a waiter comes up to you after breakfast, grilling you about the cost of your shoes. And he's trying to find a way to ask you to give him your shoes without actually asking you to give him your shoes, you know? It's weird, dude. So when we got our new room, we were introduced to the concierge, and she set us up with obviously the way better room on the opposite side of the resort. It was much quieter. There were fewer people. The room was nice and cool when we got there. There were no wet sheets or moist towels, and the tub didn't look like a breeding ground for alien, dude. Okay? It was definitely a step up, but I learned very quickly that you don't go to Cuba for the hotel rooms or the food. You go for the vibes, bro. Now, here's something to keep in mind. I'm the kind of guy who has some stupid thing happen to him on the first day, like a wicked sunburn or a broken ankle, you know? And then it limits my ability to do things for the rest of the trip. So I tried to take every precaution not to have that happen. So I spent a week working in my new slide so I wouldn't get blisters. I sunscreened regularly so I wouldn't burn. I watched what food I was eating so that I wouldn't poop myself. You know, all the good stuff. After one day of being a bobbing head in the ocean, I get back to the room, and I'm as red as a lobster. And my feet are burnt. Burnt, dude. Who burns their feet? This guy burns their feet. There's wicked blisters on both my big toes. And again, I'm pouring sweat like a waterfall in the Burmese jungle. Okay? Oh, and I had a heat rash that made me look like a bright red beacon of disease. You want to know what's good for all of that, though? Salt water, dude. That's right. Just a little salt water. 3 days in the ocean, and it all started to clear up, except the feet. The feet didn't get better till, like, the last day. In fact, these puppies are still peeling and healing. I've been home for like 3 weeks, dude. We spent all our days on the beach, my girl getting bronzed like a goddess, and me showing up like, half boiled bull meat, but otherwise, good time. The ocean was pretty awesome. It was amazing, actually. The beach was clean. The water was so clear that you could see the bottom. You know what was gross? The pools, dude. Resort pools with the swim up bar. Those are gross. You want to know why resort pools with the swim up bar are gross? Well, because everyone's just sitting there all day, warming the water periodically so they don't have to get up and lose their spot. Yeah, that's right. You're swimming in pee, dude. For sure. I mean, I know people pee in the ocean, but I feel like based on the size of the ocean versus a pool, there's a lot more particulate dilution happening in the ocean. Plus, it's just better for your skin, dude. In between ocean bob sessions, we hit up the 24-hour snack bar for hot dogs, fries, and beer. Or sometimes, we go to the main buffet for rice and bread because that's all we ate for 7 days. Because apparently, you don't go to Cuba for the food, dude. You can ask anybody. Normally, when you hear buffet, your heart flutters and you get a little rush of excitement, right? Not in Cuba. In Cuba, your butthole puckers and your stomach becomes a Nazi dietitian. Yeah, that's what happens. Actually, we did have eggs and sometimes sausage in the morning, but it was definitely limited. The rest of the time, we were fueled by cappuccino and beer. From time to time, we heard some people talking about how good the food actually was, and quite frankly, it blew our minds. Yeah, that's right. Do you know what it's like to be terrified of ice? Getting ice in your cup was like having your worst nightmare manifest into reality, or a spider run up your leg. For the next hour, you're on high alert, waiting to see if you shit your pants or develop puncture wounds, dude. I'm just saying, there's nothing like wondering if you're gonna wake up the next day with a deformity, okay? Then, about 4 or 5 days in, we catch ourselves talking about how good some of the food was. You know what that taught me? Well, it takes 5 days to reset your standards for greatness. All you need is a little deprivation, and bam! Your standards drop faster than a boner being bit by a hooker. What I'm saying is, the food is not great, but after a few days, rice can be as satisfying as a Big Mac. We met some pretty awesome folks, but like I said, it also helps that we figured out who to tip, right? We worked it out so that almost every spot through the resort, we had somebody taking care of us. Our waiters at the buffet made sure we had the table we liked, the beer we liked, and they always gave us a heads up on the state of the buffet before we went to the buffet. You gotta have an inside man, dude. It was awesome. And we met a couple ladies in the coffee lounge who made sure that we always had drinks or cappuccino when we passed through. We never had to actually go to the bar when they were working. They always came and found us, so we got served while we were sitting or doing whatever we were doing. I think it started to make an impression, though, like kind of across the resort, because within a few days we started to notice more of the staff making a point of acknowledging us just in passing. Waiters also started to meet us at the entrance to the buffet and entice us to sit in their section. Then one night, a gardener comes out of nowhere while I'm smoking a cigar on a patio and gives flowers to my girlfriend. Now, you want to tell me that guy didn't want a tip? If I'm being honest, it was kind of awesome, but it was also kind of off-putting because, so we had to get a little more strategic with our tipping. Overall, it was a pretty good experience, though. It was my first time to Cuba, and I definitely go back. Maybe I'll check out a different resort, though. Here's the thing. You can't have expectations, and you have to be adaptable, right? Because the Cuban people, like I said, are awesome. The traveling people, not so much, man. People are much more selfish than I remember. A lot of people, they would actually empty trays from the buffet onto plates just for their table without like any regard to the fact that there were, hundreds of other people there. Manners and etiquette were definitely lacking from most of the tourists I saw. The messed up part was there were very few Americans though, because they can't go. I'm just saying, that's behavior that we would expect because the resort population was basically Europeans, Canadians, and French Canadians. So what made the food hoarders even more surprising we're supposed to be like a nicer people. Maybe we are, but we're definitely as selfish, okay? There was a lot of questionable fashion sense, which makes people watching super fun. I don't think I saw so many shiny fake accessories. Like the big wannabe Gucci sunglasses. Old dudes were wearing those, dude. There were fake gold watches everywhere, rings, chains. People wear their chains in the ocean. It looked ridiculous. Tacky, you know? It kind of came across as a little desperate. Maybe pay attention to me, attention seeking. But I guess, whatever makes you feel good about being you. I'm just saying I'd rather not be chuckled at in passing. That's all. So by the time the food seemed to be running out and my skin started to clear up, it was time to fly home. And of course, our return flight was like 11 p.m. And luckily, it was on time, right? And the flight only took about 3 hours this time. The downside was that the end of our flight was through a thunderstorm. This time, there was no circling though. No, the pilot just took us right through that bitch. It didn't seem to matter that at any moment the cabin could have been filled with an excessive amount of barf. There was a lot of turbulence, a lot of lowering levels really quickly. So other than flying through storms on the front and back leg of the trip, the first night's room and the, 7 days of starvation, the trip was a great time. I was able to forget I had kids. I got to enjoy the moment, get lost in the fantasy of being present, drink some decent beer and have a few cigars, because that's what Cuba's about, baby. I will say this, though. Research your destination before you go, so you have an idea of what to expect. And then, keep those expectations low. Be flexible, because shit's going to happen, and you don't want to let it ruin your perfectly good time, dude. Overall, I give my first visit to Cuba a pretty good experience, dude. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, even though I came home a little redder than I wished, with a few more foot injuries than I had planned. You know what I'm saying? And because I liked it so much, I try to keep the vibes going, and what gives me the laid back vibe, okay, is low key. What is it? Let me try that again. MTL cannabis low key frosted flakes. It's pre-rolls, they're half grams. They are 32% THC, and they're a nice laid back indica. And if you want to tell me this isn't an indica, if you want to label it something like that, it's a hybrid leaning indica, whatever. It's nice and relaxing. So it makes me kind of like feel like I'm back in Cuba, because when I got back a few weeks ago, I was just cruising along, and then all of a sudden you get back into like, regular life, and you start to speed up a bit. I want to be island slow again. That's my plan. So when I want to feel like that, I smoke these, because they're actually pretty good. They're a little peppery. The pre-rolls are a little tight, so they burn a little more, like they burn a little faster than you want them to. But yeah, if you want to relax, if you want to take the edge off, it's a good after work weed. When you get to sit down and you just get to, lay back and do your thing. I wonder if it tells us what the terps are on here. So the terps, I can't read when I'm high. It's an indica, the mix. Okay, so here are the stats. Frosted Flakes by MTL Cannabis, their low key brand or version. It's indica, it's cereal milk and Mach 1 mixed together. There's farnesene, limonene, linalool, osamine, and bisbolol, whatever that is. Those are your terps. And I think it's like a 1 point something. It doesn't say. Does it say? I don't see anything that says what the percentage is. But it's a good smoke if you want to relax. It's nice and tasty. You gotta like the peppery side of things though, because it does have like that peppery taste to it. But I've been smoking these for like a week now, and I gotta say, I quite enjoy them. They're pretty good. So if you're looking for something laid back and they're a little more expensive though, if I remember correctly. No, I think it's like 7-pack for like $25 maybe. Anyway, it was pretty good. It was a pretty good pick. I say if you're looking for something relaxing, get that. It's a good smoke. It's hearty. Gives you good mouthfeel, good exhale. Nice clouds. Yeah. So those are my thoughts off the stem for this week. If you get a chance, go to Cuba. Keep your expectations low. But overall, if you just expect to drink and visit the beach, you're going to have a great time. I would have liked to go on into Havana, but time did not permit. And also, I hadn't been on vacation in 20 years, so I wanted to sit on a beach and think about nothing. I achieved that. So yeah, so that's what I say. Go to Cuba. Don't take weed, but when you get back and you want to feel like you're back there, then smoke some of this Frosted Flakes. They're good. Thank you for joining me, Justin Barone, your friendly neighborhood pothead, on Thoughts Off the Stem. Hope you come back next week and join me for another session on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, YouTube, Podchaser, Pandora, Good Pods, Podbean, wherever you get a podcast. It's out there. And don't forget to check out tots420.com. Follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Facebook. All of it under Thoughts Off the Stem, at Thoughts Off the Stem. Yeah. Until next time, keep your lids low, baby.